Hey everyone, Connor here, and I want to do a video basically on my experiences when I moved to Germany during a pandemic. So I didn't really move to Germany right during the pandemic. Here's what happened. I took my flight on over to Germany, and then I traveled pretty much, I made like a loop around Europe in a way, like Germany, and then I kind of made my way to Spain. Well, and then I kind of went back to Germany, flew to Ireland, and then I kind of did a loop from Poland kind of back through Austria up into Germany. So anyway, I was like, all right, I'm done traveling. I'm especially done drinking like every other night in hostels and stuff like that. Okay, so yeah, it's like early March, and I get to Leipzig, and I'm like, I had been to Leipzig, and I was like, you know what, this is a really, really good spot because it's like a cool and hip city, but it's not too overwhelming. And so I'm in Leipzig, and I'm like, all right, perfect. This is where I'm going to stay. And then, yeah, it becomes a full-blown pandemic. I think on the 15th is when the World Health Organization declared it a pandemic. And so I was like, oh, fuck. I can't stay in hostels. This is a great hostel, but I can't stay here because they're going to close down the hostels. The writing's on the wall. And so I'm in the hostel the night before I talked to my mom, which is kind of the way the story's going. Anyway, I'm in the hostel talking to this like kind of random guy. He knew someone I kind of knew. And I was like, yeah, well, I can't find a place to stay. So guess I have to go home because I don't want to live in the street. And he's like, oh, I've helped people find places in Leipzig before. What's your WhatsApp? So I was like, okay, here's my WhatsApp. I was like, this guy's nice. But, I mean, come on. Did I think this guy was going to get me an apartment? No. But fast forward the next day. I'm on the phone with my mom, and I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I got to go home. And she's like, okay, yeah. So we're looking at flights, and then I get a freaking WhatsApp message, and he's like, hey, my British friend with a lot more sense than you is going to go home for the pandemic, and you can stay at his place. And so I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. I just got to make sure that it's not like a scam. I didn't really think it was a scam, but I mean, I had to make sure that I'm not gonna get ripped off, or that like he has a cardboard box and that's what he wants me to rent. But yeah, like the next day I check out the apartment and it's all good, and I'm like, all right, like I'll write you a check. And like then the next day I'm literally moved into this new apartment, which I'm subletting, and I'm subletting it for basically until I find like a permanent spot. So I'm like, all right, this is nice digs. I'm enjoying myself. And I had met up with the girl previously, like on Tinder, and so I'm kind of seeing her doing this, and we're kind of like, okay, well, we've like made out at this point because we had like literally just started seeing each other. So it's like, if we have corona, we both have corona at this point, so we can still keep chilling. And yeah, that didn't turn out. Like, I think that she was mostly just trying to get over an ex and just didn't really wasn't like emotionally there for me. And the thing is I was literally in the same boat too. And so eventually we were just like, yeah, we're not going to see each other. But then she's like, oh, after we kind of like ended things, she's like, oh, I think I got exposed to corona. So I'm like, oh, fuck. And she's like, yeah, but they're not testing me because I'm not seeing symptoms, but I definitely had like one-on-one contact with someone who had it. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Well, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I definitely have it. So yeah, I spent 2 weeks in my apartment just self-isolating, eating pasta. What else did I have? I ate a lot of pasta. Rice. I think I had canned fish. Potatoes. It was bad. So that wasn't fun. And then I just like, my like world just became this weird bubble, which I just had like on my phone. And so I was just like talking to my friends, which was great because, I hadn't really been talking to anyone when I was traveling around. But yeah, I was just like fucking in like a little English bubble. I didn't even really study German at that point, which was stupid. I could have made like so much progress. Still stupid. So yeah, this world's going through a huge pandemic, and in Germany, like, there was like a good 2-3 week period where, or maybe longer than that, I don't know, because once I started going out after that little like self-isolation incident. Yeah, there was just like no one. I had a video, but of course my phone's broken, so I don't have it anymore. But like of like the downtown Leipzig, like historical downtown area, just completely empty. So the Germans were great. They just shut everything down for like a month. And then, but there were still people that like were in the parks. But people were like socially distancing and people were wearing masks. Of course, in grocery stores, everyone was wearing a mask. They wouldn't let you in the grocery store without a mask. And also interesting about Germany is they make you, and they still do this, they make you have a shopping cart. Like when you go into the grocery store, you have to have a shopping cart. Even if you want to buy one thing, gotta have a shopping cart. I don't know, whatever, doesn't bother me. Except for the fact that you have to insert coins to like unlock the shopping cart, and then when you relock your shopping cart, you get your coin back. So of course, I mean, I've like 3 times probably just not had a coin and had to gone back to my apartment. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, what else? What is like in Germany? So after being in that like real isolated little studio apartment that I was subletting, I found the apartment I'm in now just on a WG gesucht, and that turnaround was pretty quick. I just was like, oh hey, I've subletted this apartment for a month, so like let me finish my sublet before I move in here, which is basically what happened with this. And yeah, for the most part, Germans seem like really societally just willing to cooperate with any like measures in order to contain the virus, and the results have obviously been good. People aren't like crazy here about it though, which is interesting. Like if you're walking on the street and you get within 4 feet versus like 6 feet with someone, no one's gonna be like, and when people are just out walking, most people don't wear masks. In the store, always people have masks. But now how things currently are, it's like there's like some bars open. People don't have masks. They're doing the German thing, just smoking cigs inside the bar, having a good time. Seems to be, the restaurants are also like that, minus the cigs as much. But yeah, things are like kind of returning to normal. I think schools opened up, or like daycares. I don't really know because it doesn't really apply to me. Yeah, like, I don't know, things are happening. Clubs aren't open. So that's kind of sucked for me because that's like how I met, besides hostels, that's like how I met everyone I ended up like having like prolonged social contact with. So that's kind of sucked, but I mean, it's been nice because also this whole time during Corona, since I think like the 19th, I just was like, all right, I guess I won't drink. I guess I won't smoke cigarettes or weed. I've smoked 1 cigarette in this time, but yeah, I'm like 120 something days sober, which has been nice. That's like completely different from Corona, but yeah, so that's like pretty much my thoughts and feelings and my experience with living in Germany during the pandemic. And oh my God, I had like my aunt, my sister, my grandma, my great aunt, they were like, you have to come home. Like, you can't be in Germany during the pandemic. Like, you're insane. But it turns out I made the right call for the most part. Definitely happy I'm in Germany and not at home, because I would be like, well, for one, I just like didn't want to not move back home. Because like, I felt like that was kind of failure, because I was like, I'm moving to Germany. And then, you know, if I moved back home, I would have felt like, fuck, I failed. And I wouldn't have found an apartment, which I now have a year lease on, you know what I mean? So it wouldn't have felt complete. Would have had a good time traveling and stuff like that. So I'm happy it all worked out. Happy Germany could get its shit together better than the States. And obviously I'm sad that the States are kind of in disarray right now. But yeah, that is what it is. So anyway, yeah, I hope you learned or liked or were entertained by my video. Or honestly, I hope you fucking hated it. I don't really, just some reactions, cool. Yeah, so like and subscribe. Yeah, and have a good one. Peace.